I was 13 years old and I was playing baseball. And what was interesting about it is I typically played second base or center field, but we were in this playoff game and I could really catch really well, and they knew they were going to hit a lot of balls at shortstop, so they put me at shortstop. And my dad and my uncle were actually the coaches of the team. So we're actually going into the final inning, and we were winning like 5-9, right? 9-5, we were up. And something interesting happened, right? We knew they were going to get some kind of rally. They got one run, not a big deal. They got a few people on base. And then I started to make mistakes. And it got to the point where I literally made like 6 errors in a row. They would hit the ball a bit to me, it would go between my legs, or I would get it and I would bubble the throw. I remember a fly ball and I missed it. And the more it happened, right, the rally's coming, you can see them getting runs in, right? And halfway through this, right, probably after the 3rd error or so, I'm kind of looking at my coaches, right, my father and my uncle, and I got a little tear in my eye, kind of like, get me out of here, right? And I remember my uncle looked at me and said, we're not going to take you out. We're going to win or lose with you there. Figure it out. So after that, I still missed a couple, but I finally got myself together, caught a fly ball, and we got out of the inning. And at that point, the score was tied 9-9. I'm dejected. I'm walking off the field, still got a little tear in my eye. And my dad says, pull yourself together, you got to go hit. And the kid that was playing center field also put his arms around me and said, don't worry about it, it's going to be okay, right? Just, pull yourself together, it's going to be all right. So I go up the bat, it's starting to get dark outside, okay? So the umpire's like, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. So I hurry up in the batter's box, they throw the ball, first pitch, I hit the ball to left field. Usually I hit like singles and doubles, this one I hit like far. And they were playing a little closer in, and it goes over the left fielder's head. And at the time I was pretty fast and I started running around the bases. So I ran around first, I ran around second, and as I went past second, I could see the shortstop getting the ball, right, and ready to throw, and I knew he had a really strong arm. So as I'm rounding second, going to third, I'm looking, and I can see him begin to throw, and then when I get to third, I round third because my father said go home, and I start the round, I get halfway down the third base line toward home, and I turn back, right? And my dad is kind of sitting there at that point, he's like jumping up and down, like, go home, go home, go home, right? And something in me says, go home. And so I turn back around, I go home, and I barely beat the throw, and we win the game, right? From that little story, I got lots of lessons. The first lesson is sometimes when you're playing out of position somewhere where you're not as comfortable, it's cool as long as things are going okay, right? But when things get a little tight and a little stressful and you're not comfortable, that's when you got to learn how to stick with it, even if you start to make mistakes, right? You got to compose yourself and stick with it. Second lesson I learned is you got to get people around you that are going to hold you accountable. Even when you think you want to run, you want to get people around you that go, you don't need to go anywhere. And my uncle for that moment was that person for me, right? Also, I learned that sometimes you get support in places you don't expect it. That guy that kind of gave me the pat on the back that was in center field was my arch nemesis, literally, right? We were on the same team, but we were like competitors. We competed in sports, we competed in the classroom. If I got a 95 on a test, he's like, I got a 97, whatever, right? It was one of those types of things. But at that moment, he was the one that I would have thought would have been like, you messed up. But he was the one that encouraged me when I need the encouragement, right? And then you need somebody as well that just gives you that little added push that believes in you. Because there's going to be times when you're on your way home, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, that sometimes we have little voices that say, no, you can't quite do that, right? And that little voice was telling me third was good enough, right? So I was about to go back to third, but that little push gave me everything I needed to be all I could be in that moment for myself and that team, right? And because of the moments like that, that's how I got to the point where I'm a coach now, in terms of being a different type of coach, a leadership coach. And I kind of blend both of those styles. I blend the style of my uncle that's more of the kind of hard-nosed, you said you're going to do it. It's time for you to step up and do it. But also that more encouraging part of my dad that says, you know, you can do it. Stick in there. Remember your past successes, right? And so I took both of those things into account to kind of mold part of who I am as a